going to record this, publish it on my YouTube channel here. And anyway, so I am now going to do it is going to be kind of a quick onesie twosie through the site, but feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. I'm going to bypass KBA on this just so that it moves a little faster, but traditionally speaking on my platform, the client would have to pass KBA and pass their ID upload before it ever got to you unless you bypassed them in the beginning. So if a client were initiating all of this, you wouldn't actually see this until they've already passed all of their tests. All right. So as a notary, if I were going to bypass a client, I would, and let me do one thing here real quick. I need to apologize,
Amy,
but
while you do that, just to be clear, that would just be in the situation where they're personally known, right?
personally known or using a credible witness if you're allowed to use a credible witness,
Cool.
something along those lines. So, or in the instance, if I get that other thing rolled out, you would be using an alternative KBA process. So it wouldn't be automatic in that manner of speaking. So, but yeah, so it would have to be within your state laws if you're allowed to bypass them. So you would hit new notarization and you would select your client's email address from the list. And I can go in and see my list of clients. Now, mind you, this is a demo system, so it doesn't have anyone in there, but it would have their list. If they had their profile filled out, it would have their phone number there. So this client doesn't have their information filled out, and that's okay. They don't have to, but that just means I, as the notary, since I'm bypassing, am going to have to know what to put in there. Now, that all being said, the client can correct it. So if I put something in there that's temporary, they can fix it. And then, but the trick is if they are going through KBA, they need to make sure that that information is corrected. Otherwise, KBA won't pull because it won't pull if the information's fake. All right. All right. So once I've selected my client's email, I would upload their document or a document. So typically as a notary, I would just upload a blank file if I don't have their document and it just says blank document, please remove and upload your files. So that way the client doesn't have to email me their document. They can actually replace it when they get it on their end. The next area is for me to enter as many, up to 4 signers. And this can be the signer or the witnesses that they're supplying, or anyone that would be on that aspect. Hold on one moment. I got someone telling me they can't get in. All right. So you would enter as much information as you can about that person, knowing that the last 4 of their social is optional. You do not have to put a social. However, if they have a social, it really helps to put it in there. Again, though, typically if they have details in the USA, the social does not matter because they're going to find it based upon their address and their date of birth. If someone has just moved, use the previous address because they're not going to have any new records in that new address. So make sure it doesn't have to be their current address. It just has to be an address that they're affiliated with within the USA. So it could be from 5 years ago, but as long as that address was something that they had something tied to, it can pull those public records from it. If they need additional witnesses, you can add that here and you can pull them into the system during the notarization. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 and I'll log in and show you how that's done during our system. Now, as a notary, if I was sending this with a bypass, I would be done. I'm going to hit send to client. And now I'm flipping to the client screen. And obviously it looks identical to the notary screen. The only difference is the top tabs. There's only 3 instead of 5 or instead of 6. So this is client, this is notary. See the different tabs? Other than that, it is identical spacing, coloring, everything. So there's the user, there's the notary, there's the user. A client can go in and hit new notarization. It comes up with pretty much the same thing that you just went through to send it to them. They'll have their credit card, their file upload. It asks if it's an election or a last will and testament. And that's because some states restrict that access for those notaries, that they can't do them. So that helps the notary to know upfront if they can do it. They can put how many people are signing, and they can add witnesses as well. Now, in this instance, I already have a pending on my dashboard as a client. So I'm just going to click this little action button here on the right-hand side. And this action button tells me a real brief summary, but it also tells me who the notary is. It tells me the notary's email and the notary's phone number. So if I have a question, I as a client can call you, or I can email you directly to get that question answered. So I think that's a great thing. I would just simply hit start notarization. One thing you'll see up here in the top right, there's this little tiny toggle, and you'll notice I can't change that as a client right now. Go ahead, Michelle.
I still see the journal overview page.
Oh, you know what? I think I didn't share this other screen. Thank you.
Okay.
That
Thanks.
was my bad. Okay, so now let's start all over here. So this is the notary side, and
Okay.
hold on here. It didn't flip. This is the client side.
I see.
See how
Okay.
similar they are?
See it now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for raising your hand. One of the downfalls of Zoom is if you don't share the entire screen, when you switch programs, it doesn't take it with it. So as a client, I can just hit new notarization, and I can enter everything that we just entered as the notary. And here's this toggle, and I can switch it back and forth here. And there's no notation on here, but this toggle will let them bypass a primary notary. So if I'm setting up a new notarization and I know Michelle's on vacation, I can turn that off, and then I can select a different notary for that one time. It doesn't change her from being my notary the next time, but for this one time I can switch it. Another instance that's really helpful is if they're doing something for a government contract, and let's say Michelle's their primary notary, but this time they need an Ohio seal because that's going to Ohio, or if they're doing an apostille in Pennsylvania and they need a Pennsylvania notary for that one time, this gives the client that control. But again, there's no notes here. So that client is going to have to go to Michelle and say, Michelle, here's what I've got going on. How can you help me get a Pennsylvania notary? And all she's got to do is say, well, it's really simple. Just turn that blue button off, and you can then filter the notaries and pick the one that works for you. Now, that being said, because I bypassed the notary on this transaction, I can't, as a client, turn that off. It has to go to that primary notary because there's a KBA bypass in place. And, you know, the lady that Michelle bypassed KBA for, if they went to Judy, Judy may not know them. So she may not be able to legally say bypass the KBAs. So that locks it. So that client has to go to Michelle if the KBA is bypassed. All right. Little security protocol there, you know. So then the client has their payment method. We have the file area. So I can now upload another file. and I can delete the original file. So then I can put whatever file I need notarized in there right then. It asks if it is an election or a will, like I said, because sometimes some states don't allow their notaries to perform those. And I can change the signers. I can change my address, my city. I can change my zip code. I can add a social. Anything in there I can change, um, except for the reason for the bypass. Go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry, is the signer including the notary at this point or no? So 4 signers including the notary or plus
Not
the,
including the notary, unless you are bypassing the payment from the client. If you're going to build a client third party, at least for now, the only way to do that is for you to be signer number 1. And then you would have 3 more additional people that could sign. Make sense? No problem. All right. So as a client, I can add a second signer. This second signer is going to have to go through KBA because their KBA was not bypassed. So even though I can add those people, they do not get grandfathered in on the personally known or whatever KBA bypass I used. So they will have to do KBA. I can also add a request for more witnesses if I needed to. So in this instance, we're just going to leave it at 1. As a client now, I'm just going to hit start here. Now this is a release. It says confirm your information and documentation. Make sure that once this is done, we can't change it. If you have any questions, cancel and save it until you are sure it is all correct and ready to go to a notary. The notaries cannot provide legal advice and cannot notarize any document that has blank lines. Your documents should be completed but unsigned at this point. All documents must have every page uploaded. If you fail to upload the entire document package, it is possible the notary will cancel this transaction. No one reads this. It's there, but no one reads it. This was my CYA so that I can tell people I'm not giving you a refund because you acknowledged that you understood this. So, but no one ever reads it. So now they will hit confirm, and it's going to tell them this is the platform fee. Notary seals are in addition, witness fees are in addition, and it's automatically charged at the end of the session. So they would just hit confirm and pay. Then the client they have 3 options. They can save this and start over again later, or they've already paid. They can connect to a notary later. I can schedule it with the notary. Let's say I want to do it at 2:25 p.m. This schedule time, it doesn't give a time zone here on the page, but it's based upon my time zone. So I'm in Ohio, I'm in Eastern time, so this is Eastern time. If this client was in California, this would be 2:25 p.m. Pacific time. So it's based upon the cookies in their internet browser. So they don't even have to select the time zone. But if you are doing this to where you're covering the cost as a notary, you would want to, and you were scheduling it for okay, let's see. I'm doing a notarization for a client that they're in California and they want it at 2:00 Pacific time. I would have to put 5:00 because I'm in Eastern time to be the same time as them. All right. So I'm not going to do that, but if we did do that 15 minutes before that scheduled appointment, that client's going to, all of the signers is going to get an automated email that says, here, start your KBA. And first, they're going to get an email saying you've scheduled this notarization with them for this time. Here's the notary's information. Here's what's all going to happen. And that email goes to them in both English and Spanish. It walks them through the entire online procedure. You're going to get an email from this email address at this time, and you're going to start your KBA. Then you're going to upload your ID. It's going to be in second email. And finally, you'll get one more email that says join your notary in a Zoom session. At that point, you'll be able to talk to the notary. So that way they have a whole rundown of exactly what's going to happen when that first email starts 15 minutes prior to that appointment. Okay. So in this instance, we are just going to hit notarize it, which means I want to notarize it right now. And once I do that, I'm on the notary side, I get a ping. And this ping tells me I have a new notarization. I'll show you the witness in a minute. So I have a new notarization request. And election document, no. Will, no. There's one signer, and I see the document name, and then I also see how many witnesses I need to add here on the right. I have 1 minute to accept or reject it. If I reject it, it'll go back to them to schedule with me later. So I hit accept. Now, if I hadn't bypassed KBA, they would be able to pick a different notary right then, but since it's bypassed, they can't move with a different notary. At this point, that ping, if a client was coming on here without being bypassed, that ping would be your first interaction with this transaction. If a client initiates, a client starts it, you're not going to be in anything until that ping comes to you. If a client schedules with you, you're going to get an email that says, so-and-so has scheduled an appointment with you for this date, this time. Here's their contact info. If you can't make the appointment, you could email them back and reschedule, and that's totally fine. But you're not going to get involved until that ping hits your computer. And on this page, you've got 4 objectives, and they're all listed right here on the right-hand side. And I should also note, as soon as I hit accept on that, the client got a message. Here, let me flip to the client. Your notarization has been accepted by the notary. The notary will now format the document, and a Zoom link will be arriving in your email shortly. Please make sure you have Zoom installed on your device so that you can connect with the notary when the link is provided. Boom, done. They are able to go get a drink. They can go to the bathroom, and they know you're working on it. Okay? So now you're looking through this document, and you first off need to count how many times you, the notary, are signing. And that's really important if you're using a digital certificate signature versus an electronic signature. And we can go into the differences later, but that's the first things. You got to count that. There's 2 reasons for that. One is for that digital certificate. 2 is for your notary journal at the end. It'll help you complete the notarization faster once you know how many times you're signing. Second, you need to make sure that the notary blocks are legal for you. If they're not, you need to know what acknowledgement or jurat you need to upload as a loose leaf in the next page. Confirm that all of the pages are there. You don't have to cancel just yet. If they're not there, there is a way to fix it, but we do need to be conscious of the process of, are they actually there, or do I need to ask the client to upload those missing pages? The 4th thing would be to add a witness if required. And as you can see, no one's online. So let me do. And that's one of the biggest things I've run into right now is no one stays online. So when we do get calls, which I know I can't say that we get a ton of work through the site, but it's really hard when I do get work and no one's available. So now, hold on here, let me flip back over. I am going to reload, and you can see I am now available online. It is that instantaneous to show that someone is available. So now I will go ahead and add me as a witness, which now I get a new witness request as the notary. So I have a new witness call. You have a new witness call. It tells me how many signers and how many witnesses, and I can accept or reject it. So I'm going to hit accept, and all it's going to do is give you just this screen. As a witness, you're done until that Zoom link comes to your email now. You don't have to do anything. You're just hanging, okay? So now I can see that I have accepted this witness request as the primary notary. So now I can hit next and go to the next page. The first time you do this during the day, it's going to ask you if you want to stay logged in. The notes, I tried to make sure all of the instructions were available for everyone on these pages. So when asked to remain logged into Adobe, always say yes. So we're going to say yes. Now, on this page, we've got more buttons. We can launch Zoom, and you would do that if you were bringing a client into the session now to ask them questions. But if you had no questions, you don't have to do that right now. The next is to cancel the notarization, which it does give you a survey as to why. And I want everyone to know this is not to critique you. This is so that when they call me to complain, I can then tell them what happened and why you canceled it, and tell them that legally you were entitled, or you should, that was what you were supposed to do. And if their circumstances have changed, feel free, resubmit that notarization, and you will handle it differently. But I don't want anyone to do anything they're not supposed to. So this is not to hold it against you. There's no algorithm. None of my system has an algorithm. You're not penalized if you turn something down. In addition, you can freehand a reason. So if you had a specific reason you wanted to include, feel free to do that. You can complete the notarization. Don't ever do that until the notarization is completely done. And then on a side note here, I can see a list of all of the signers, and they're swirling. So that means they have not signed the document yet. And just so you know this, Clyde, when we get the link in there, this is where the link to their ID is going to be. It'll be right here on the right-hand side. So you can click the link and it'll open the ID for them that they used for ID validation. Now, the Adobe area down here, I can rearrange the signers if I need to. My email, and this is my email as the notary, is always going to be last. In this instance, it actually put my witness first, so I'm going to put my witness second. And I am going to change the email because that one takes forever to load, as it is a quote-unquote fake email. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. So we got two emails in there. If you're signing with a digital certificate signature, for instance, Michelle or Dee, and I think Clyde, I think you guys use a digital certificate as well. If you're signing this document 2 or 3 or 4 times, you have to put your email in here 2, 3, or 4 times, because a digital certificate within Adobe can only be applied 1 time per email. And this sucks. I'm not going to lie. I hate this whole aspect of it. But it works, but it takes a little more time. Adobe is coming out with a new tag called a Notary Tag, which is going to fix this, as well as I'm testing some cloud digital certificate signatures, which won't take away the ability that you have to do your email this many times, but it'll make it faster on the back end. So it's a cloud version of IdenTrust that I'm testing. It's not IdenTrust themselves, but another vendor that offers that type of a service. Because right now, if you have a Chromebook, our platform won't work for you because you can't use a digital certificate manually with a Chromebook because it's considered a tablet, which won't work. So anyway, I'm going to remove one because we don't need to sign it that many times. I can show you an example. Over here on the right-hand side, if my client speaks Japanese as their first language, I can change the Adobe instructions to be Japanese. Now, this does not change the document. The document will stay exactly the way it is, no changes at all. The only thing is the instructions for that client will be in Japanese, so they can get through the system a little bit better. because I know I can understand Spanish, but if I had to read Spanish, I wouldn't get very far. So if your client's if their English is their second language, it's a customer service to offer that. Obviously, you're only going to be able to offer that if you know the client ahead of time. If you need to add a loose leaf jurat or acknowledgement, or let's say title sent you a completely new package after you've sent this out to those clients, you can remove the files right here. So what we just saw is gone. Now I'm going to add a different file, and let's see here. We'll do an advanced directive. And then I'm also going to add a blank acknowledgement. And I can add, let's say we're going to have to send this to be apostilled. Boom. Voila. Now I've got 3 completely different documents, and those are now the documents we're going to notarize. So even if the client neglected to put all of their documents on there and you know that they didn't do it, you can fix that right now. You would just have to reach out to that client and say, email me your documents so I can fix this. Again, another area that you, the notary, can correct a client mistake, which when you're in the world of Ron, usually is the reason why a transaction can't be completed, is because the client doesn't do something they're supposed to do. Would you agree with that, Michelle? All right. When you have all of the files loaded in there, you just simply hit next. And then one of the things that I love about Adobe is it will start to pre-tag the documents for you. So a lot of the fields will already be tagged when this opens up, which makes my life so much easier. So now I can just kind of go through, and if I want to, so I do have an error message here, but that's okay, I'll fix that. Um, if I want to, I can make it a little more custom. I can say I want someone to fill this out, or I can say I want this person to fill this out, or I don't want them to freehand their name. I want their name to be auto-populated. I can resize this field so it matches the shape of whatever line I'm putting it on. So I'm going to make this one huge, okay? I can say, oh, it's a yes or no. I don't want them to answer both because they should only be able to answer one or the other, right? So we'll use a radio button, and I'm going to make that required, and I'm also going to make it a star because I'm being pretty today, okay? So I can go through and I can do that with all of these buttons. I can be as creative as I want to. The other thing that I do is I take this transaction number and I put it in the bottom corner, and I right click it and say repeat on all pages. So now that number is going to be on every single page. And what that does is that allows someone to look at that page, take that number, go to Adobe and validate that independently from a printout. So even if that person gets handed this page, they can validate the signatures of this document without the soft copy X509 compliant certificate, which is huge in the electronic age, because that's where I get a lot of questions from companies. How do we know this was legitimately done by your company? Well, if it has that number on there, then you can see it. Now, regulatory, that's not required. It's not required by anyone to have that on there, but it is a customer service for your client to have that on there. As you go down, you can go into these text boxes. Again, I can make it multi-line. I can go into appearance and I can change the font. I can say I want it centered and I want it to be purple, and boom. I can go in here and say I want this one to be required. I can say default print, default statement here. I can have it say a certain word, and you can see it's purple. So, and you can see the star. Now it's required. So they have to put something there or leave what you put there. So see here, the state of, I know we already have that. So I can go clone this one and drag it to that field. So now this is that first field's identical twin. So whatever's typed in that first box is automatically going to be in the second box, or vice versa. So if I go in here and I say state, and I say okay, and I go back to the top box, it now says state. So anything that I put in either one of those fields is going to say exactly the same thing because they're identical twins. I can drag and drop all different kinds of different fields. So like here, I can drag and drop signature. I can switch to the next person, and I'm going to say digital signature. I can drag and drop my notary seal. And then I can go down here, and we're going to say for this same notary, since I'm the notary on all of this, I'm going to put my seal on all of the pages. But, and this is where the error came in earlier, they don't like drop downs. But I can't do 2 digital certificate signatures, because if I tried to send this right now, I get an error message because you can't have 2 signatures that are digital on the same email address. That is why I had to put my email in there 2 times. Okay? So 1-to-1 ratio. Now, when this is all tagged, all done, oh, one more field that we can do. If they didn't include all of the documents, you can add a file attachment here, and the client can add those files to the document during the session. Now, you can't sign those pages, but you would be able to see them as a notary, so that you would be able to facilitate that notarization because you could see those missing pages. At this point, before you would hit send, you would have automatically hit launch Zoom, because you never start a transaction with that client until you've done your audio-visual session. Now, I will say I am making it to where this launch Zoom is automatic when you come to this tagging screen, but the clients will sit in a waiting room and you have to let them in. So you can tag without them being in your face, or you can let them in and talk to them while you tag. Sharing the screen is optional. When you're sharing your screen, nothing on the screen is being recorded. The only thing being recorded is what you see right here, all the talking heads, because there are some states, specifically Idaho and Oregon, that don't allow the shared screen to be recorded, because that does become part of the public record. And if you're sharing your screen and it is being recorded, something like a seller's package is going to have all of the client's banking information, or a passport application is going to have all of their birth date. It might have their social, and you might see a lot of compromising data. So that information is not allowed to be recorded because of the public record aspect of this transaction. In addition to that, you do not have to share your screen. You can just leave it. If they've sent you the document, obviously they know it. They know what they're signing. So you do not have to share unless you're trying to show them something, or if that's just how you want to do it, which is totally up to you. But if you want to see them as a big picture, I'm going to pick on you, Michelle, because you're at the very top. I can spotlight that person when it's not shared and make her huge. So if she were to hold something up to the camera right now, I would be able to see it very clearly, versus if I remove the spotlight and I do my gallery view again, now everyone is teeny tiny. And let me do something real quick here. I don't know how you all have your screens done, so I am going to share what mine looks like. So when I have the gallery view, that's how little our faces are. So it is harder to see details if you're trying to actually see them.
Same.
Okay, perfect. Now, Zoom did do a custom training for our notaries, and it is available on our training page. And they go through all of the features of a Zoom session. They talk about how to use the whiteboard, which is this whiteboard, and I can go in here and I can type and share information. In addition to that, hold on here, I gotta move this. I can share my screen. And let's say I want to pinpoint an area for you to see. Give me one moment here. I can spotlight and I could say right here, you could see my cursor move. And here's the cancel notarization. Here's the complete notarization. Here's the tags. Here's the file attachments. And you can follow my mouse better. And in addition to that, if I wanted to, I could even say, hold on here. Check, here's this, and here's that. Here's this file attachment. But these are just little spots where I can show it to the client. I can also draw on the page and say, here's where you're going to attach your file, okay? And I can hit stop sharing and I can scroll up, but then I've got to clear my screen. So I can hit clear all drawings, and now I can say, and here's where you're going to sign the page, okay? So you can do that and show the client where to sign or what you're wanting them to see and emphasize that point with them through Zoom. Yes, Michelle. Oh, you're on mute.
Where did you pick up those features that you just showed, the check mark and the
Okay.
spotlight?
So when you are the host, you hit share screen. And then at the very bottom, once you are currently sharing, let me do a snip. Let's see if it'll let me snip this. Yep. At the very bottom, when I am sharing, can you see this?
Yes.
So now I have annotate.
I see it. Okay.
And I can then select from a toolbar that pops up on my screen. So let me see here. Hold on here. I gotta exit this. I've got to move this down. And I'm gonna move the heads away. So if I hit annotate, did it again. I moved our heads right over top of the button I needed. It's not going to let me, it's not going to let me take a photo of it. But I get this little toolbar at the top of the screen that allows me to pick the tool that I want to use to emphasize that area.
Perfect. Thanks.
In addition, you can drag or drop a text box, a drop down menu. I never use the drop down menu. You can do a checkbox, the radio buttons, of course, and then an image. I don't like the image. I'm actually going to use it tomorrow because of this one title agency has this really weird document that they want a photo of ID on that page. Well, I can have the client upload a photo of their ID and it will be embedded into that document. So let me edit this and I'm going to put it, yeah, first person there. So you'll be able to see me embed my ID onto this page during the session. Now, I will now have brought in everyone in through Zoom. I have done my oaths, my ID validation. I've confirmed you're doing it of your own free will, whatever your spiel is with that client that you're doing right now. Okay. At this point, I'm now going to send this to the client to sign the document. And I am simply going to hit send. And I'm going to tell the client, now I've sent you the document. Please look in your email and you'll be able to see a link to electronically sign this document. Now, notice I stopped sharing. And the reason for that is because typically when you are in a Zoom session, if you're sharing your screen, it takes the entire screen and the clients may not always know how to exit and get to their email. So by stopping that share, it opens up my toolbars as an end user and now I can see my email easier and get to that link without so many problems. But I'm now going to go ahead and share my screen again. So now you can see my email and I am going to just hit review and sign. And now it gives me my little message. I can hit start and go page to page to page and it'll go every single field. Or I can go required fields only. So required is the minimum amount of fields that need filled out for me to sign this document. Next is all of the available fields that I can fill out as a signer. So I can go up here and I can say, I'm in Ohio. No. I could say, oh, I want to fill that in. Oh, I want to fill that in. Oh, I don't want to fill that in. This one, I'm going to say none because, I don't want anything else, And then I want to fill this in. And then, oh, I want to put a proxy in so I can enter this information as the signer. Hopefully, this person has already done this ahead of time because this takes forever. The whole point of this is you're just watching them sign. You're not supposed to be watching them fill the document out. But if they haven't filled it out, this is their opportunity to do so. And they can go through and they can fill all of this information out. Now, this is my first signature. So I can click to sign. It will let me type. It will let me draw. I can upload an image of my ID. Hold on here. Documents. So then I can actually see my actual wet signature on the page, or I can send a text message to my cell phone. And this is really cool. And it sends me a link. I'm going to stop sharing. Well, no, I'm not going to stop sharing. So I'm going to click on this link and it's going to give me a sign here and I can sign and hit done. And now watch the screen. Boom. Okay. And if I do that mobile number, it allows me to do it with any country code. So they don't have to have a USA phone to do that. They can do it with any local prefix. So we're just going to leave it with type. And then, oh, I want to add an image. So I'm going to choose it from my computer. So there's my ID. So now my ID is going to be embedded on this document. I can't alter the look of the ID, which is why I don't like this field, because if the picture's not straight on, you can see it's not very good photo. But it gets the point across, and according to title, that is a photo of their ID, and which is what they're asking me for. At this point, I don't have any other required fields, but I could go through and I could check or I could fill out information. But when I'm ready to, I would just simply hit click to sign. Or if I'm on my cell phone doing this, it would say finish. So I'm going to hit click to sign. And what that's going to do is send it to the next person, which is the notary, which is a different email address. And here it is. Now, because I am logged into Adobe, I have to open this in a private window. And it is going to make me do all of the required fields. And you can see, look at that, the font is huge. That name got put right over everything because remember I made that box huge. I could see and I could write something in because I made those fields available. So if they forgot to put something in there, oh, I meant to put that there. Okay, I can apply your initials there. You know, you can go through the document. Oh, you didn't answer this question. Do you want yes or no? It's a way of saving it. You know, at this point, I would add my stamp and the stamp stays on your computer. You never give it to me. I want to use a fake one. Here we go. So I control my notary stamp. I never give that to the platform. It's always on your own computer. So if any time my system would ever get hacked, the only thing anyone would have access to is the client and notary roster, but not your digital certificates, not your stamps. It wouldn't have access to the client validation data because it's not kept on my server either. And it would not have access to the client files because those are only stored on Adobe servers. So the only thing they would have access to would be just the roster of people and not even any proprietary data. It would just be their name and their address and their phone number. No birth dates, no socials are ever retained on my platform. So that is definitely a security feature. Yes, Michelle. Mute, mute, mute. Oh,
I was
there you
going
go.
to ask you about the signature, but go ahead first. I don't want to interrupt with
Oh, no, that's okay. That none of the signatures are ever stored on the database. Only their name, their address, their email address, and their phone number. That's it.
the
That's all.
notary signature can also be uploaded if we're not using a digital signature.
No, it's all done as you're going through the transaction. So it is all kept on the Adobe document itself. It's never uploaded ahead of time to my system.
Can the notary upload the signature at this point, or does it have to be the digital? That's why I'm saying I'll watch what you do next. It'll probably answer my question.
Oh, you would actually download and attach your digital certificate from your computer. So this is where if you had a cloud digital certificate, you could select cloud and then select the provider and then apply that digital certificate and not have to download, which is what I'm testing. But right now with Identitrust, you would hit download, hit next and say okay. And you have to do all of the required fields before it'll let you download. So I had to put another stamp on the document. I saw that number 1 up here. Now I'll hit continue to sign. And this is the part that takes a little while, which is why I'm testing that cloud signature versus the Identitrust signature. I would hit download the document. I'm going to open this file in Adobe Acrobat. And now I will go to that signature spot and see where the yellow tab is pointing to. That's where I want to click. So the yellow tab doesn't do anything for me. I want to click where it's pointing to, and then it's going to prompt me to use my digital certificate. I would hit continue. I'd make sure that's the one I wanted. Mine is a self sign, so I have to hit review. And an Identitrust one, you do not have to hit review. And then you would hit sign and it will apply your digital certificate at this point. If you haven't given your permission for this certificate to be done, it is going to ask you for your password and you have to allow that password to be retained for future signatures. So once that's all done, it is then going to process and upload again and send me a new email because remember, now I have to assign it the second time. Where's my camera? The second time. So I'm going to close out of there. I'm going to close all tabs. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close this and I'm going back to my email and I'm pretty sure that's the email I used. Give it a second here. All right. Well, one thing you can do in here, I've got to log into the demo account, so just bear with me a moment. You can log into the back end if this were to happen. Um, and you can log in here and you can, oh, I've got to verify my ID. One moment here. Let's check and see if that came yet. Why it's not doing that? Usually it does. No problem. I wonder if I didn't, did I finish it all out? Let's see. Nope, it's in there. Okay, so now I need to validate my ID with Adobe. It just takes a moment here. There it is. So this is the back end area that every notary gets access to with their Adobe login. I can go to Sign Manage Agreements, and I can see the status of any notarization that I have in place. So I can see, oh, my signature didn't get applied, which is why it didn't email me. So I can open this up and I can say, oh, I need to remind her right now to sign this document. So now I get a reminder, click here because you didn't sign it. Oh, I forgot to open in a private window. Let's see. I think I might have exited it too fast. My fingers were a little too fast for it. So now I will go through and apply that signature again. And now this time we're going to wait until it actually says successful before I close it. And that's what I did. I didn't wait for that box to finish. I was too impatient. Oh, it wants me to re-download it. One moment here. Okay, so in the instance that this doesn't work like it's supposed to, there is a way to correct it, but you would have to send the file to the client manually versus the system automatically updating them. So what I am going to do is go over here to Tools and go to Certificates, and I'm going to digitally sign and draw my signature, continue, and it will apply my signature there. And then I can scroll to the next place and sign my signature. And then I would just simply email that final document back to the client. So there is a way to correct it, even if there are software glitches like this. And that glitch is because I exited too quickly. So it's my own fault. So I would just hit save. And then I'm going to actually show you the encryption on it so that you can see all of those signatures are in the audit log. Give me one moment here to reopen that file. So now it has the signature panel, and you can see I signed it those 3 times. And you can see here's the signature, here's the signature, and that other one was behind it. So the other one's behind that signature there. So the audit trail is completely valid and legal because we did it while we were on the Zoom session, but that is a way to correct it when something goes wrong, again, because it does. There are times when you've got to be able to think on your feet and move fast. Now, the other option would be to take this and download it from here, because now the first signer has signed it, and now since that one is erroring out, I could then hit send. I would enter the email address of where I need to send it to again. Oh, it's too big. So you've got to be careful that the files aren't too large. But you would just upload that document if you could and start it all over. Or you could start from the beginning again and put the original email in here first and start with the original document and completely start from scratch and say, this was the advance directive, it was the acknowledgement, and we added the apostille. There it is. And now I can hit next, and it's going to have me tag those same documents again, and then start again, completely from scratch, be able to completely fix anything anyone's done. So if the client entered the wrong name or they completely answered the wrong way and they don't even want to try to correct it, they want to fix it, I can now go through and restart this entire transaction and correct it for that client, and everything is there. But that doesn't mean I have to retag the document while they're in that session. Am I sharing my screen? Okay, good. All right. So that is kind of the quick way of fixing something. In addition to that, under my Manage tab, I do have the ability to look at completed notarizations. So I can go back to an old demo. So say a client comes back to me three weeks from now, yes, they can go into their platform and get it, but maybe they're in an area where they can't access it right now. I can go in and download, and I can download and send that to the client. I can go into my canceled transactions if I had any. expired where they didn't sign them in enough time. You know, there's lots of different ways you can go in here. In addition, I can download an audit report, which also shows on the platform itself, and you can see the full audit report of that transaction, who did it, when they did it, where they did it, what the email was, and it's encrypted as well. But when you are all finished with those signature aspects, you would return to the Cyberize It tab and hit Complete Notarization. Say how many times the notary signs the document. So if the notary signed 10 times, that's what the notary charge is going to be. And then you would say what type of document you did, what type of notarization you did. If you were doing a real estate transaction, and you're using our system to charge the client, the default numbers are already filled out right up here. Now, if you're doing this and you're going to get paid by title independently, you would just enter 1, because that $25 will then be charged and then refunded back to you, because you're only paying the $11.99 platform fee. So that will finish out that transaction. And now anyone can go to their dashboard. And in this instance, I would have to email the document because it's not going to be completely signed, but I can get the document, I can get the audit report, and the session video would be linked right here. And I'm going to actually log into my other profile, because since we do this through the platform demos, you can't see the link for that video. But that video link is literally right here. And I can right click and open that link. And I can share this link with anyone that needs it. And just so that I'm not going to play it, but I just want to show you, it is only talking heads that are shown, not the document. So even if I share the screen, you only see the heads, you only hear the talking. All right, any questions? Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm sorry. So the last thing you just said about the number of notarizations, what if they're not all acknowledgements?
So in our system, you can only pick one type of notarization that has been brought up, and that's something I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm thinking the ability to add a quantity. So I could say a jurat times 2 and an acknowledgement times 5, you know, that kind of thing. But that is in a future phase. I always default to, if it's between an acknowledgement and jurat, I always choose the jurat because a jurat holds more bearing in my mind, but that's me.
But with a jurat in Florida, we have to administer an oath. So if there were 15 notarizations and only 5 were jurats, and we indicate 15 jurats, I don't know if they would be looking for 15 oaths, or if, I guess it depends on the raw notary, if they're giving an oath for each and every jurat or not. That would probably be a workaround. Okay.
Yeah,
And then
I see your point there.
What about working around, you said if your notary certificate is not compliant, state compliant, that you have to attach a loose certificate. Are we allowed to use the Adobe tools to make corrections to the certificate? Because we have 9 elements in Florida. So yes.
You can drag and drop and alter a current certificate. If it only needs a small little change, you can correct that without adding your loose leaf. But that's up to you, and I leave that up to you because, you know, at the end of the day, you're the one putting your signature on it, so you need to be comfortable with what it is.
And we really have to have the RON disclosure on everything we notarize online. So at the bare minimum, we would have to add that each time. But could we create that like in a Google Keep? We can create that and then drag it. Can we create features in the drag and drop to use for future, or just do it on a case-by-case basis?
You would do it on a case-by-case basis, but let me share my screen real quick here. The Notary Certificate, or if you get a stamp from my platform, what I do, and it's to help with I'm trying to find that. Here we go. No, that's the one.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that previously. Okay, it has the
So
wording.
it says this electronic notarization was performed by means of live audio-visual communication using Cyberize and LLC, which most states require it to say that it's an electronic notarization, that it was done by live audio-video communication, and Missouri requires it to say who it was done by. So voila, that one line on the outside of the stamp, and then it goes on every time you stamp the document, so you don't have to physically type it every time.
And that's something a notary can purchase through the platform.
It's free through the platform.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, great, thanks.
Yeah. How about anyone else? Anyone else have any questions today? Margie, I see you on there. Dee? Paula? We'll start shouting out names.
Hey, quick question for you. On the journal, I saw that we could download that. Is that correct? Or was I
That is
just made that up?
correct. Oh no, you
Okay.
can download it. Let me go back to the journal page. It does allow you to download it into Excel. One of the things that I am adding to this is, so it has the number of signers, the start top, what the name of the document was, and I'm noticing it doesn't have this total number of notarizations, so I've got to find out why that's not out exporting. But it gives all of the client information on here, who the witnesses were, if there were witnesses, and it gives their full address as well. Let me see if I can find a witness here. Here we go. So see, you get the Cyberize It demo with their email and their IP address. And
The type of notarization somewhere?
that is being worked on. It will go back and do that. This is the last phase of fixing everything. But yes, type of notarization and total number of stamps needs to be applied on here.
And then so in the where it's the document field, that cell, it does list each of the documents, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
well,
Yeah, that's
okay. See here, all of those documents were notarized.
Gotcha.
Right here.
Yep.
Yes, every single document name is on there. In this next phase, the other things I'm adding is it will auto-populate the type of ID that the client used for credentialing. It will auto-populate the expiration date of said ID into this, and it will allow a notary to put their specific state and county of where they're doing the notarization, because I do have people that are dual commission. So they want to be able to say, I was in Pennsylvania or I was in New Jersey. And since they don't have to have two separate accounts, this will allow them to separate this journal based upon state guidelines. And the other aspect that we're adding is, I think, the reason for bypass would come out on this as well. So if you're bypassing, why you bypassed and what that is. And I noticed it's not on here either. So, but they are updating this, and it will backdate to all of the prior areas because all of those fields are already in there. They just don't export yet.
Great, thanks.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Margie.
Thank you for this. This is awesome. So I do have a question. I am in my dashboard right now, and I don't know if you covered this because I stepped away for just a second, but is there a way for us to practice like some of these, like a simulator I don't see that I can do that from my dashboard. Is there a way I can do that or practice with another notary? Main reason so that I can be completely familiar before I invite my client on your platform?
So you can, it's just not actually done on the platform. If you log into your Adobe account, you can go to that Manage tab and hit Sign, and you can tag and you can email a document back and forth, things of that nature. But if you use the platform like from start to finish, it is going to charge, and then you would end up paying the $11.99 right now. So, but you can go into the back end and play with it.
Okay, so I know that when I signed up, we get a free Adobe account. So that's the one you're referring to go in there, and then we can practice everything, including the tagging through your system because you're using Adobe, right?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
No problem. You can also go into that account and create your templates. So if you know you do this one type of document all the time, you can create a tagging template. So when you go into that session with a client, you just apply that template and it'll auto tag that entire page.
Okay, perfect. And I think that's another good reason that people really, really do need to know their software. Like, having some experience with Adobe is really going to help a lot.
Oh, totally. And I'm working with a couple of signing services that really like that template feature, because when you share a template, you can share the template across the entire organization. So if Margie makes a template and we categorize it and name it correctly, and Michelle gets something from that same company, she could go and use that same template that Margie's already created. So we don't have to recreate the wheel as a company. So a title agency could then be on our Adobe account, go in and create that template for themselves and tell you, hey, use template blah, blah, blah for this document. And now every notary on here would apply that correct template, and we would never have an incorrectly tagged document for that title agency. In addition to that, that title agency would be able to live update that template. So every time they have a change, they can then in fact change that template and make it reflective of that.
Wow, that's really neat. Okay, I'm going to practice in here and we'll get this going.
Awesome.
I have a question related to the Adobe. So if we're already using the Adobe Pro, would the one on the platform be used for other purposes or exclusively on the platform?
It's used for exclusively on the platform because we had to, and that is exactly why we had to do it this way, because your Adobe Pro account, we didn't want to tie it to the notarizations that you do on our platform. So we had to create this fake email and fake profile on Adobe so that they run concurrent. So you can use one or the other to edit, but to do a template, you have to log into the Cyberize It Notary account.
And
To
it's more
do,
secure.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In
And
addition to that, if I needed to log in and help you with it, I can go and log into your Adobe account because you've reached out to me, and I can say, okay, here's how you trigger this reminder, or, oh, Michelle, the reason that it's not going is because this person hasn't signed it. So when you have a problem and you pull one of our team in, we can then go in there and look at it and say, oh, well, here's what you need to do. And we can actually hit the button and trigger it for you and tell you what we're doing.
That's great. Awesome. You mentioned about expiration of time to sign. What is that? The time from the time they receive an invitation to the time they need to sign? Is it roughly
30 days.
Oh, wow, it's long, okay. And what about the file
Longer
size?
than you'll ever need. File
You
size
you
10
also-
megabytes,
10 megabytes, okay.
which is 500 pages.
Okay, cool. Oh,
You should be able to do a full package with one file without going over the file size.
great, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? These are great questions.
Hi, Amy. It's Dee Dee. Hi, everyone. I don't have a question. I just want to say I want to thank you for doing this and sharing and giving us all this information. I'm still stuck, so I haven't been able to utilize any of these things you're doing because I don't have my new commission name yet. So I'm not able to get in there and practice or look at anything. So, but again, really, I thank you. And I think that I'm able to be part of this. Appreciate
Well,
it.
I'm glad you're on. I always enjoy talking to you. And hopefully we get your commission all figured out here soon and get you on board.
I'll be ready as soon as I get it. I'll be sending you a message.
Awesome. All right. Well, if anyone else has questions, now is the time.
Amy, I have a question. It's Margie. So I'm logging into the Adobe account that you set up for me. And because, we had to do a different email address, it's asking me to enter the code that was sent to that email address. Where can I go to that email address?
You would just, what'll happen is it'll come to me and then I forward it to you. So just
Okay.
I always check that email. So if I see something in here, here it comes. I will send it from the support email to you. So just give me a little bit of time. And if you don't get it right away, shoot an email to support and say, hey, I sent it. I need an Adobe validation, and we'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I plan on
It does
getting in
not ask
there.
very often, but it will ask randomly.
Okay, just to set up some templates and stuff. Okay, thank you.
No problem. And there is an area in there that you can preset your signature, but because you're not actually using that login to sign the document, you're using your personal email, it doesn't relate back. So you can put a generic signature in there too and initials, but when you go to sign the document, it'll never appear, just so you all know, because you are using your email address to sign and not your Adobe login. It's a different account, a different access level, I guess I should say.
So did you also say that cloud signature feature is available now, or that will be in the future?
So it is available, but I need to find a vendor that doesn't take a month to create a digital certificate. So I'm working with one right now, and I had to physically mail the application to Poland. They won't take it by email. And they said, because we have to have it in print, it has to be in paper form. And I'm like, print it, you know?
Really? Oh my gosh.
So
In
I
the
mailed
remote
it.
world.
I know, I mailed it, but I need to get with Identitrust and see if they're going to venture into cloud signatures, because that would change the entire aspect of this platform if they did. But right now, I don't think they do.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll wait to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, and then if Adobe when Adobe rolls out this notary signature, which I anticipate will be at the end of next month, because I know Adobe's making a huge announcement in regards to notarization next month. And I think it's all tied hand in hand with it. So while they're actually creating it for a different company, we will also get the perks of that creation.
Okay, Amy, one more question, if it's okay. I know that you had referred to before us being able to have a link to give to our clients, and I'm in my dashboard. Is that the reference link that's in there?
Yes. So
Okay.
let me just show everyone what you are talking about here. So if I go into my profile, there is this reference link right here. And now it's not a pretty link. I would not recommend saying, oh yeah, here, go to this website, da 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 da. I would link it on your page. I would create a small URL and have it auto forward to it, or do like my daughter does. I'm going to go in here to, you all can see my incognito, right? Did I share everything? Okay. So my daughter's website is Ohio Notary Taylor. And if I hit enter, it will auto forward. Okay, yeah. It'll auto forward to her create a client profile. If I paste this link, it will take me to my create my client profile. Now I'm going to Amy test demo August 29th, and we're going to say no email at cyber. So now I'm going to hit sign up, and now I can go to my profile, my client, and did I do it under this one? Hold on here. Let me.
Okay, so when that client signs in like that and signs up, because I just went to mine, that is for us. It will show up in our account.
Yes. Let me no email at I gotta figure out who I put it under. So when I log in as the client, I can go in here to my profile and I can see that I am logged in under my main profile. So now let me log in back in. And now I'm going to go to my client and oh, it's under no email. Here it is. See it? Right here. No email at cyberize@notary.com. Amy's test demo August 29th. So it's instantly in there. The clients are sorted by their email addresses. So if you're looking for a client, they're alphabetically by their email. And that's why I had to do the whole view of all of it. In the next phase, this will have a sort feature and a find feature, as well as in the journals area, you'll be able to sort and find specific transactions through your journal that way and export just those filtered results.
Okay, another question. Once someone has logged in, they filled out the create your client profile from that link. If they click that link again, it doesn't have them fill it out again. It's just going to have them log in. Is that right?
Well, it'll still show the create your profile, but in the middle of the screen, it says if you already have an account, click here to log in.
Okay,
So
perfect.
it won't allow them to create two profiles with the same email.
All right. And so I think what I'm going to do, kind of like what you suggested, is I'm going to have a dedicated URL and just have that forward to that link. So it'll be simple and easy. Like I actually have the domain joinnotary.com, and you could have that and give to people and say, okay, here you go, joinnotary.com, and have it forward. There's not any problem with doing that, right?
No, not at all. And that's,
Perfect.
exactly kind of what I was thinking with that link. The other thing would be if you had a website and see how I have these buttons, I could link that link to a button. So instead of this linking to just the plain Cyberize it could link to that actual referral code. So then when they're on your main page, they just click that link and it takes them right there every single time.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. And then, of course, every time that client comes back, you are listed as their primary notary, so it triggers you so that they can, so you get that residual income, which was important to me. I did not like a system that I went to where I brought a client to the table, and then when they had something that they brought back, it didn't come back to me. I felt that was wrong. So that's why that is there. And understanding that there are times when other notaries might need someone like in a different state, like we mentioned before. The system will allow for that, but only as a temporary band-aid unless they actually go into their profile and physically change the notary for the permanency of it. But again, the client would have to log all the way in, go clear to their profile, go clear to the bottom, and search out and select the new notary manually. It's not automated. So that is in the client control, but it isn't something that they typically will do.
Perfect. And you said that you're working on a phase 2 where we might be able to have a white label, right? At some point.
Yes, so that is probably going to be 2.5, but yes, this next phase 2, I want to, so Margie, let's say you have a client and you know this client and you use personal knowledge and bypass them every time because you know them, right? They don't want to have to deal with KBA, but right now the system requires you to go and set it up for them every single time, and they can't initiate on their own unless they do KBA. Well, in the new system or the upgrade, you, the notary, will be able to go into your My Client list and you'll be able to say, checkbox, always bypass KBA. Here's the reason. Now, when you do that, it's going to lock their first and last names down so they can't ever be somebody else. And now that client can log in and initiate, and it will automatically bypass for them. But like we mentioned, when they automatically bypass, that means it can't go to any other notary. So that means that client will always come back to you and you'll never have backfill, but that client will never have to do KBA for themselves again, as long as they come to you. Now, that client could toggle that box and turn that toggle off so it goes to someone else. And when they do that, then they have to do KBA again. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I think in Texas, though, well, I don't know. Yeah, that's something we'll have to look into. But yeah, that's awesome.
I'm pretty sure you're allowed to do personal knowledge, but like Florida defines what personal knowledge is. Like you had to have like had dinner or know their kids or something,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. Yeah,
Mhm.
Ohio doesn't define it, so we get to define it ourselves. But it is definitely something that if you are able to use it, or like say this person always is going to use a credible witness. Well, you could put that in there, bypass KBA, they always use a credible witness. If they initiate a transaction and they don't have their credible witness, cancel it. Sorry, you need to add your witness. But it allows them to have control over that initiation, and you don't have to always start the transaction. So it saves you time, it saves you money because your money is time. So that's what I'm looking at there.
Speaking of money, I see that you pay by Stripe. And is that right?
Correct.
And that's paid right away. So in my dashboard, when I click on Stripe verification and you try to go get verified, you click on that link, it says it's waiting for a notarization. Okay, no, it updated it this time. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, I just hadn't
On that
completed
real
it.
quick note, just because you didn't ask, but I'm going to volunteer it. It says social, but you can enter an EIN there. It does not have to be a social in there. The last 4 that it requires you to enter on that Stripe screen,
Perfect.
it can be your EIN or your social. It doesn't matter to them, but it will generate for the 1099. And just so you all know, I don't have access to that data. It just generates on the 1099 at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
And also that is not stored on my servers either. That's stored on Stripe. So again, I really tried to make it to where I don't have to worry about being hacked. If someone tried to hack me again, they're only going to get bare bones, names, addresses, emails, phone numbers. That's it. That's all that's on my platform.
And it's nice that you have that background because you know what hackers might be looking for.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that responsibility. You know, let Adobe have that because they've got all the money. I don't have all the money.
Well, this is very, very well thought out. You've done an excellent job, Amy.
Well, thank you. And I'm trying to improve upon it. And then there is one other aspect, and Margie is taking part in it. It is our referral bonuses. So you can sign up and get a referral code. Margie's is Notary Socials. And what that will do is, as the person signing up, they get $10 off of their first payment. So if they do monthly, they'll save $10 for that first month. And on the back end, every month that that person is active, Margie will get a $2 discount or refund off of her monthly subscription. So if she signs up 20 people, then her monthly subscription is zero. In addition to that, if you do complete 100 notarizations a month, you will get that $39.99 back as a bonus. And the referral program does not negate that. So if Margie does 100 notarization and has 20 people signed up, she's going to pocket an additional $39.99 that coming month.
And just to be clear, so everybody understands, that referral code is you referring other notaries to sign up for the platform. It's not for getting clients in, it's for getting other notaries.
Correct. It's for spreading the word.
Yeah, and I think the word will get spread quickly once notarizations are done on here, because you have got an excellent platform here. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you. That's highly appreciated, because I've heard you talk about some other platforms. So I was very nervous when you wanted the demo.
Oh my gosh, no, it's just, it's always good to have other things in case something's down.
Oh, yeah.
But from utilizing all the other ones that I have, I love what I see so far. This is going to be really nice. And the fact that you'll actually be able to do loan signings on here too, that the other ones really aren't designed for that, but yours is so much more robust. The fact that you can do 500 pages, and I think you said 5 times 500 pages.
Yeah. For the $11.99, you could actually load 2,500 pages, but I don't want to be the notary on that one.
No way.
Well, I'm hoping that everyone sees the value in it. That is why I'm going to Florida next week, and I'll be handing out information to the different signing agencies that are all going to be there. Like I mentioned, Notary Loop, signing, the Notary Loop and Signing Orders, same company, and then SnapDocs is going to be there, and I know they're already in agreement with someone else, but it does not hurt to spread the information. But those are the two big ones that I saw there. But I did see like Notary Cam, I think, is going there, and other places. So it doesn't hurt to rub elbows and let them know who we are and how we're different, because again, not everyone can use the same platform. There are hurdles, whether they don't have a social, or they don't have a US presence, or they need to be used a credible witness versus a traditional validation, or they're validating through a digital certificate and utilizing a Virginia notary instead of using a traditional raw notary from a different state. Because again, every state allows the notaries to have a little different control. And with ours, at least ours offers that flexibility to be able to say, okay, yes, Mr. Client, you can definitely do that, but you need to connect to this type of notary, and they can filter and connect to a notary that meets their needs.
Maybe you'll go there and land some clients.
That's the goal.
Exactly.
No, I do actually have quite a docket after I come back from Labor Day weekend. I've got a meeting with one Secretary of State to help roll out a new project with the DMVs in their state, which will hopefully be an industry leader with the United States as a whole. And they've asked our platform to do that. In addition to that, I have a meeting with a very large government contracting firm that will facilitate the transactions. And he is very impressed with our platform, because no other platform allows you to specifically select the state that you need. And you need that with government contracting responses. So he and I are going to be meeting to see about what we can do to facilitate a merger on that aspect. And then I have 2 signing services that are extremely interested in this platform right now too. So it isn't going to happen overnight, even though I want it to. I really want it to, but it isn't. It takes money, it takes time, and but we're getting there. Every single day, I'm getting more and more interest in the platform, and not just from notaries, but from major clients.
So, Amy, that's a really big deal that they're able to pick their state, because you're right. In the other platforms, they're not able to. And sometimes their specific document wants them to use a Texas notary. So from your platform now, are they already able to pick that if they don't have a notary, if they just came in cold?
Yes.
What is that in the process when they're starting to notarize, right? You may have already covered
Yeah.
that.
Hold on here.
Okay.
Let me set
Hey,
one up
Amy,
real quick here.
Yes,
Yes.
I need to take off, but I thank you very much. And I'll keep tracking with you.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you for coming today. Let me see if I can get to that demo here.
While you're doing that, so if you get busy, you're going to be able to have at some point maybe some notaries that need to be fed notarizations in the beginning. You might at some point be able to provide some of that for some notaries, similar to what Notarize does.
That's the goal. I don't know that it'll happen overnight again, but
But it can happen.
it can happen if hold on here, I gotta see where I sent that. If I work hard and get everyone on the same page, and then if I customize the platform enough to create that demand, it definitely can and will happen. But again, we are new, so it is something that is going to take a little bit of time. So, and that's one thing I've built it to be a hybrid platform, but I can't say that you're going to get work instantly. The system doesn't auto trigger anyone into the platform. So there is no automation on how the notary's selected. So like with other platforms, it's sent out and the the first one to tag it and to get it gets it. Ours, they're picking you, so you have to be
But in the beginning, you might have your favorite notaries that can perform great RON services for you. So that's something to keep in mind too. If people get signed up, that they're going to be in on this in the early stages.
exactly, and it'll get them to where they are familiar with the platform, and they'll be able to hit the ground running when there is work. So they'll become everyone's favorite. And with ours, once you've been selected by a random person and you provide that service for them, you become their primary notary. So the next time they come back, they don't randomly select again. They always come back to you. So you retain that client long term.
That's awesome.
All right. So if I was the client and I needed to find a notary, I could select by language, type of notary, and state. So I'm going to clear the filters, and I can hit advanced filters, and I could say, actually, Margie, can you log in again? Are you logged in right now? Hold on, I refreshed my screen there.
Whoops, sorry, I was talking and I was actually muted. So yeah, I'm in the dashboard.
There
So
it is. See? So can you, am I sharing?
No.
Okay, hold on here. So you can see, I have the Ohio profile on, and then I have Margie on, and she's in Texas. So if I wanted to say I need all of the notaries in Texas, it's going to filter just down to Margie because she's the one.
Yay. Oh, that's so cool. That's one of the things I was wondering about, how they would, how it would be sorted and filtered. So that's really nice to see this. Thank you.
No problem. And then I can clear the filters. And let's say another good one would be I need someone who speaks Spanish.
Oh,
So
but Amy, let me ask you this. So that's if you are logged into the system. Of course, they're not going to be able to pick you if you're not logged in. Is that right?
they can pick you. Okay, so in this point, when they're in the notarization, they can only pick you if you're logged into the system.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I'm going to choose the notary there. If I go back to my main dashboard and I go in here as a user and I go down here and I click edit, I can then pick from everybody. It doesn't matter if they're online or not. And I can say, I want a Spanish speaking notary. Hold on here, Spanish. Okay, so there are 2 notaries that list Spanish as an option, and you can see they're both in Florida. Let's see how many
So
people.
if you pick them and they're not on, does it just send them an email or? Okay.
It'll send them an email saying that you have been selected to be the primary notary for this client, and it'll give you their contact info.
So the client can schedule with that notary at that point or no? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
If they want someone that speaks sign language, they can even pick that because you need to be able to have the audio visual connection, but there's no law that says you actually have to speak. You could sign and communicate. It is a matter of communication. The verbal has to be there, but you control that. So the way a client would do that is to go in here and select and search, and that's where they can change the notary themselves. And you can see all of the different notaries and everyone who does anything on here and, things of that nature.
I have to say, and I've said it before, you've really thought of everything, Amy. And thanks for taking feedback from the notaries because that's really, really important.
And really quick here, you can see on Margie's sign, she's got a green light flashing. That means she's online. That's how you can tell who is online and who isn't.
And you would get a notification. She would hear that ding dong on her PC. But what about like if you have an Apple Watch? I mean, you get notifications wherever your notifications go, right? Basically.
If you have it set up that way, yes. So like if I log into it on my cell phone, I'll hear a ding when it's on my cell phone, but it only dings once. So I have to be listening for it. And then I can accept it on my cell phone and then come to my computer to finish the notarization.
Yeah, good.
So I don't have to sit at my desk. I don't have to sit here. I can be doing the dishes. I can be cleaning the bathroom. I can be running around outside. I can be taking a walk. And a notarization comes through. As long as I'm logged in on my cell phone, it will let me accept it. But knowing that client is waiting for me, so I need to hightail it back to my computer to finish it out. One of the other things that are commonly asked things that we run into is because this is always live updating as a platform, it's always changing. The cookie error. If it just says it's loading and it's just circling and circling and circling, go to your cookies, go to your history, and clear your history, even on your cell phone, and it will clear that cookies and it'll allow you to log in without that circle. But that's one of the biggest areas where people don't get in right away because they're like, Amy, are you having trouble with the website? It won't load. Well, you just got to clear your cookies. Because it's a live update site, it will boggle and it'll pull old cookies and it won't actually allow you online if you don't clear those routinely. I typically have mine set to clear every time I close the window.
Good to know.
That's a great tip. So Amy, if we're in the middle of a notarization and you have a technical issue or just a question, I think you had said before that you do have support staff or some way to get a hold of someone. You don't have to wait 30, 40, 50 minutes.
No, we have it set up to where the business line is also a textable line, and there's a special line for notaries. So you can text to that line, and anyone that answers that line is a notary. So it isn't just some admin that is there. They're going to know the notarial law per se. I mean, obviously every state's a little different, but at least they'll have the basis. But you'll either get Taylor, Bethany, my husband, myself, or sometimes Sophia or Crystal. So right now that is kind of my support team. I will tell you 98% of the time it's me. If it's not me, it's usually Taylor because we're the two that are working it the most, but the other ones pitch in when we are super slammed.
And I have to say that is gold because none of the other platforms offer that. You're usually put in a queue and it can take forever to get an answer. So that right there is really gold.
Agreed, 100%.
So yeah, the only other request I do have is if you are having a technical issue, please use the notary support line, only because if you message me on Facebook and I'm in something like this, I'm not going to jump over because I'm focused on a meeting and there are other people that can help. Even though I'm usually the one responding, I'm not the only one. So keep that in mind. You're welcome to message me, but don't get upset if I don't answer right away because there are sometimes that I'm busy and I can't. So
Thank you so much, Amy.
no problem.
Hey,
And
Amy, I waited too long to put in that code. So is there any way you can send me one more code for that Adobe? Sorry.
Before I run, Amy, I want to tell you how the story ended with the guy in Mexico that I tried on every platform to get him through.
Oh yeah.
So, when I called him back after we spoke the other day, he said, well, do I have any other options to get these documents notarized? And I said, well, I've exhausted the platforms and the information that I have here. The only solution I can tell you is that you have to hop on a flight to Miami and get it done personally. I met him yesterday in Miami Airport Terminal D, and we did it in person.
Oh
So
my
he wasn't
goodness.
giving up, and neither was I. So sometimes, hey, Mexico City, it's a 2.5, 3-hour flight. He was happy to get it done.
That's the only solution, you know. I mean, we're only as good as the tools we have.
Exactly. Okay, thanks
Marty, I'm
again.
still waiting on that validation. Did you hit next to have it send?
I did now. Thanks so much. Thanks for everything.
No problem. I will send that as soon as it comes through. Thank you guys all for joining today. I look forward to seeing you on there. Hi, Rita. Did you have a question?
Hi. Just wanted to pop in and say thank you, Amy. Love your platform.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Well,
Thank
you guys all enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and keep in mind this week I am going to be a little bit on the reclusive side, which is going to be different for everybody, including me, because I'm not used to it either. But good things are going to come from it. So, all
Quick
right.
question, quick
Yeah.
question, Amy. Are you going to have a replace in case we missed bits and pieces of this?
Yeah, I have this all being recorded, so I'm going to
Send it.
upload it to the training page.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Thank
I'm
you and
still
safe
watching for that
travel.
code. Well, thank you. And you guys all have a great week and feel free to message if you have any questions, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.